Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy, and I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the book of 2 Chronicles, and we are in chapter 1. So this is our very first video for this brand new book of the Bible, and for me, that's always a reason to get all excited about what we're going to read next. Now, this is a continuation of 1 Chronicles. This is written during the time that they're in diaspora. I don't know if I always say that the right way, because I've heard it a bunch of different ways. So they're in exile. No, nobody's in Jerusalem. Nobody's in the Promised Land. All the people have been picked up and moved. Some first with the Assyrians, then they put strangers in their place. So when we're in the time of Jesus, it's not necessarily the descendants of Israel that are in those surrounding locations like they used to be. They're in those places where the 10 tribes used to live. They were removed during the exile. The biblical scholars believe this is written by Ezra. It's a prophet that we haven't gotten to yet. Not sure, though. It's the time frame it's written in is contemporary with Ezra. So is 1 Chronicles. And it is really the view of the kingdom through the eyes of the priests. Instead of, because the priests would have to keep track of all the genealogy. Instead of it being, the court historians or something of that nature. Okay, so same time period, different perspective. 2 Chronicles, book 1. Solomon, well, I should say chapter 1. Solomon asks for wisdom. Solomon, son of David, established himself firmly over his kingdom. For the Lord his God was with him and made him exceedingly great. Then Solomon spoke to all Israel, to the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds, to the judges and all the leaders in Israel, the heads of family. And Solomon and the whole assembly went to the high place at Gibeon. So now you should remember the high place at Gibeon eventually ends up with golden calves and stuff. And the high places not supposed to be, most frequently the high places were dedicated to some other deity, and God did not like that. He went to the high place at Gibeon, for God's tent of meeting was there. And that's why. Remember, it was a tent. So it roamed around. It didn't necessarily stay in any one location. Which Moses, the Lord's servant, had made in the desert. Now David had brought up the ark from Kiriath Jearim to the place he had prepared for it, because he had pitched a tent for it in Jerusalem. But the bronze altar that Bezalel, it's not really Bezalel, B-E-Z-A-L-E-L, Bezalel, son of Uri, or Uri, U-R-I, the son of Hur, had made, was in Gibeon, in front of the tabernacle of the Lord. So Solomon and the assembly inquired of him there. Okay, that's where the altar is. That's where they went. Solomon went up to the bronze altar before the Lord in the tent of meeting and offered 1,000 burnt offerings on it, which I find very interesting. Was he just giving the animals and the priests were burning and he was just sitting there with it? Or was he the one doing the burning? Because according to the book of the law, he shouldn't be the one doing the burning. Only a son of Aaron should be even in front of the altar. So why is he there? Like, how is he, because they're not supposed to even be able to look at the altar unless they're a Levite. That night, God appeared to Solomon and said to him, "Ask for whatever you want from me to give you." Let me say that all in one sentence. Ask for whatever you want me to give you. So Solomon answered God, "You have shown great kindness to David my father, and have made me a king in his place. Now, Lord, let your promise to my father David be confirmed. For you have made me king over the people who are numerous as the dust of the earth. Give me wisdom and knowledge that I may lead this people. For who is better able to govern these great people of yours? God said to Solomon, since this is your heart's desire, and you have not asked for wealth, riches, or honor, nor for the death of your enemies, and since you have not asked for a long life, but for wisdom and knowledge to govern my people over whom I have made you king, therefore wisdom and knowledge will be given to you. And also I will give you wealth, riches, and honor, such as no king who was before you ever had, and none after you will have. And that's true. Remember, this is Israel's heyday under the time of Solomon. From here, it's all downhill. Then Solomon went to Jerusalem from the high place at Gibeon, from before the tent of meeting, and he reigned over Israel. Solomon accumulated chariots and horses. He formulated 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horses. It's or charioteers, which he kept in the chariot cities and also with him in Jerusalem. Now, I know that can be a little confusing. It's almost twice the amount of people to chariot. Because you should remember there's 2 people in a chariot. You can't be shooting an arrow or swinging a sword and steering the horses at the same time. The king made silver and gold as common in Jerusalem as stones and cedar, as plentiful as sycamore trees in the foothills. So choice, heyday stuff. Everybody was wealthy. They could afford the good stuff. Solomon's horses were imported from Egypt. So they're making them Arabian horses. I do believe this is the term there. Or possibly Muzar, M-U-Z-U-R, a region in Sicily, or Cilicia, C-I-L-I-C-I-A, Cilicia. And from Ku, K-U-E, it's just got a footnote of C. Oh, no, that's probably also Cilicia, so okay. I guess it's 2 different names for the same region. They imported a chariot from Egypt for 600 shekels, footnote D, that is about 15 pounds or 7 kilograms of silver, and a horse for 150, that is 3 3/4 pounds or 1.7 kilograms. So much more expensive for the chariot than the horse. They also exported them to all the kings of the Hittites and the Arameans. So then they became the dealers. Solomon became a car dealer because chariots were cars. Or maybe, because they're not really tanks. They're really cars. They're your mobile unit that's, in my opinion, not as good as having a cavalry. You would think it would be better, but no, the horse is slowed down by what they're pulling, as opposed to you being on the back of them, which is like nothing to them. Much more mobile to just be on a horse than to have to steer a chariot, in my opinion. But it's what allowed them, in their time frame, to very much so be a threat. This was the primary means of mobile warfare. Chariots at that time. So if you want to find out about the preparations for building the temple, you're going to need to come back for the next video, friends.